There must be something fishy going on.
Presiding Officer, last week Willie Rennie failed to get a single answer from the First Minister on whether the SNP will support full EU membership in its manifesto. He should have waited a week, because now we have two. Nicola Sturgeon's stated position is to be a full member of the European Union. Her MP's stated position is to leave the common fisheries policy. But full membership of the European Union means full membership of the common fisheries policy. Isn't that the case, First Minister?
First Minister.
Well, Ruth Davidson's clearly not been paying attention. The SNP has been consistent over many years in our criticisms of the common fisheries policy, and very clear about our intentions to see it fundamentally reformed. Our 2007 manifesto continued to work for withdrawal from the CFP. 2011, the CFP well past its sell-by date. The 2014 White Paper on Independence. Independence for Scotland in the European Union would give Scotland the opportunity to take a leadership role in reforming the common fisheries policy. So the reality here is it's the SNP that always stands up for Scottish fishing and always will stand up for Scottish fishing. And of course, the uncomfortable truth for Ruth Davidson is that it's successive Tory governments who have sold out the fishing industry. Remember the words. Remember the words. I know Ruth Davidson doesn't want to hear what's coming next, Presiding Officer. Remember the words of the Tories. In the wider UK context, the fishermen must be regarded as expendable. That's the Tory record on fishing. And of course, we know that the Tories are lining up to sell out fishing again, because the Brexit White Paper makes it clear that fishing will just be a negotiating chip in the Brexit talks. So the SNP stands up for fishing, Tories sell them out.
Ruth Davidson.
Priceless, Presiding Officer. She wants to quote internal SNP documents. Let me quote a document. It's Chapter 13. Chapter 13 of a little thing called the EU Conditions of Membership. And it says it requires the introduction and participation in the common fisheries policy, and it doesn't get much clearer than that. So let's spell out the complete absurdity of the SNP's position here, or should I say the positions. Firstly, it's the SNP's position that Brexit is a terrible threat to Scotland and that fishermen are better off being governed by the EU's hated common fisheries policy. That's the position that Angus Robertson outlined at the weekend when he said, we're in favour of Scotland being a member state of the European Union and we're in favour of a reformed common fisheries policy. But it's also their Brexit position that Brexit is a sea of opportunity for our fishermen, and that we must avoid any policy, any practice, any regulation or any treaty which could return us to the common fisheries policy. And we know that because on Tuesday, Ailey Whiteford and Mike Weir, two of Mr Robertson's parliamentary colleagues, signed a pledge written by the Scottish Fishermen's Federation saying so. So can I ask the First Minister, is Mr Robertson wrong when he was on the telly at the weekend, or are Ms Whiteford and Mr Weir wrong? Or is it the SNP plan to try and say they're all right so that they think the people are so daft we won't notice?
First Minister.
Well, Ruth Davidson has managed to hold several different positions on Brexit all by herself. Brexit is a terrible threat to Scotland, is what Ruth says is the SNP's position. The problem for Ruth Davidson is that that used to be Ruth Davidson's position as well. Remember her screaming it from Wembley. But now, of course, it's different. She's fallen into line with Theresa May, and now Brexit is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, on this issue, Ruth Davidson flip-flops more than a fish being landed. Flip-flop, flip-flop on Brexit. The truth of the matter is that the SNP always has and always will stand up for fishing. You know, we've already heard about the Tories thinking fishing is expendable. Expendable. That was the word that Tories used about Scotland's fishing industry. But let's come more up to date and let's read the Brexit White Paper, paragraph 8.16. Given the heavy reliance on UK waters of the EU fishing industry, it's in both our interest to reach a mutually beneficial deal that works for the UK and for the EU's fishing communities. Let me translate that for Ruth Davidson. That means the Tories are lining up in these negotiations to sell out the fishing industry and allow European countries what they say that they don't want, which is access to Scottish fishing waters. The Tories are preparing to perpetrate a con on Scotland's fishermen. They will not get away with it. It's the SNP who stands up for our fishing industry.